The new Jimny was one of the highlights of the Philippine International Motor Show. It looks pretty similar to the old Jimny, only it's actually boxier. As you can see, there are no swooping lines, there are no sexy curves, it is all straight lines all around. It kinda looks macho, but also because of its size, it also looks kinda cute. You don't know if you want to give it the bro fist or pinch its feathers. It's a confusing little thing. It's powered by a 1.5 liter naturally aspirated gasoline engine, which produces 101 horsepower and 130 Newton meters of torque. For such a tiny vehicle, I would imagine that it would be quite sufficient. It's mated to either a 5-speed manual or a 4-speed auto. The Jimny is built on a ladder frame chassis, so this is a legit SUV and not a crossover. It has a solid rear axle at the rear and also a solid rear axle at the front. You don't see a lot of modern vehicles with a solid front axle, but the Jimny is taking its retro theme really seriously. One advantage of a solid axle is it works well for rock crawling. When one wheel goes up, the other wheel is pushed down, improving traction. The downside is that it's not the best suspension for the road. When one wheel hits a pothole, the other wheel is also affected. The Jimny comes with 15-inch wheels and 195/80 tires. It has short overhangs, which makes for better approach angles. The approach angle is 37 degrees and the departure angle is 49 degrees. The interior looks about as clunky as the exterior. It looks like an odd collection of circles and boxes stacked on top of each other. A modern infotainment display would look out of place in such an old-fashioned looking car, but they somehow made it work. With its thick bezel around the display, it looks like they slapped an old-school CRT television on top of the dashboard. It looks pretty funny actually. They made no attempts at simulating leather on the dashboard. Instead, it has this paper mache-like texture to it. There are also buttons for hill descent assist and traction control. This one is the automatic model. It's a 4-speed. There is no manual shift option. Behind the shifter is the 4-wheel drive select lever. It has a reasonably sized glove box. There's not much in the way of storage. This is a pretty tiny car. There are no cup holders. Rear cargo space is acceptable with the back seats folded down, but when the seats are up, there's barely space there. Pretty is not the adjective that I would use to describe the interior. It looks clunky and almost badly put together, but that adds to its retro charm. You don't see cars designed like this anymore. The high seating position gives you the feeling that the vehicle is larger than it actually is. Of course, my rear passenger disagrees. The back seat is too cramped even for a person who is 5'3". Another thing to note is that it has plenty of exposed bodywork at the back. Not only does it make the interior look even less premium, when you're driving over rough terrain and your head is swaying side to side, you don't want it to come into contact with the bare metal panel. Visibility was very good. It felt like I was in a greenhouse with all the straight windows. I had pretty low expectations for the on-road performance of the Jimny. I was moderately surprised that it didn't do as badly as I expected. Okay, driving it over this tight slalom course, there wasn't as much body roll as I expected. As you can see, the steering wheel takes a lot of turns from lock to lock. The ride is not smooth, but surprisingly, it is also not jarring. new Jimny will be priced at 1.1 million pesos. I think it's a tad bit expensive for what it is, but I don't think there's anything else like it at the price, at least locally. You can't really compare it to most crossovers because if you're thinking of getting an HRV or a Tucson, you're probably not even considering getting a Jimny. It is less spacious, less practical, it doesn't have a lot of electronic gizmos, it's probably less comfortable as well, but it's a better off-roader, and if you like boxy, retro-looking vehicles and you can't afford the G-Wagon, there isn't really a lot of options.